High Mysticism by Curtis Hopkins. Chapter 3, Forgiveness. Part 2. The ransomed returned with singing. They reached joy, affiliating with the author of joy. The taste of joy gives sense of success with a new leverage. The deaf man who spoke with passionate earnestness to the presence of God in the universe felt a great cleavage in his head, and blood flowed forth from his ears. The gates of his imprisoned hearing being opened, he shouted for joy. The kingdom of heaven cometh and findeth something to tie to in him who touches the God estimates. Skyer meets skyer. Knowing meets knowing. Honor and fortune and knowledge are forgiveness by recognition of the glorious presence of victorious divinity. Health and strength and joy and peace cooperate as God with man by upward visioning. Did not Dionysius, the friend of Paul, find new knowing by upward viewing toward the author of knowing? New knowing starts with mystically sighting toward the original knower, by whom our knowing roots are quickened. Let us know from our own base, and poverty and foolishness and evil have nothing to tie to. Thus do we find our original goods. So are we forgiven. For behold, God exalteth by his power. Who teacheth like him? Paul called the day of joy the day of atonement. We joy in God through Jesus Christ, by whom, accepting our sonship, as he declared, we have now received the atonement. Jesus called it the day of forgiveness. To the man let down through the roof, sick with palsy, he said, forgiven. To the woman bruised of heart, he said, forgiven. And thus were these both brought to conviction, not of sin, but of sonship. Agreement is harmony, and harmony with the adversary to pain, ignorance, disorder, means success like the adversary. I will contend with them that contendeth with thee. He that striketh thee shall striketh at me. Thou art my servant, fear thou not. They that war against thee shall be as naught. O I thou, and thou I. High success denotes entire harmony, entire forgiveness. He that is entirely forgiven speaks with resistless inspiration. He has the Hestia Vestia, the heavenly hearth fire. He is a world kindler. No opposition daunts him. Like the deformed French child who knew that the doctors in the hospital would cure her, in spite of their knowing they could not, till the unbelieving doctors did indeed cure her. So we, forgiven, know that life, health, and joy are eternally native to us all, and our positive fervors warm past all doubts. The third angel's burning lamp is the speech of the imperturbable knower. It is mind tonic, wormwood to the vitals, weremouth, mind-preserving acquaintance with the presence of the healing Christ. He that humbleth himself shall be exalted. He that letteth himself go to the finished fact, as the inconsequent needle yields to the magnet's empowering, is a new character on the earth. By his utter meekness he is liberated from himself, and works the works of the worker, unto whom he has yielded himself. The sacred books, uttering the inspirations of the God-taught, the Theophori, lay great stress on voluntary surrender to the divine trend. Put on humbleness, meekness. because thine heart was tender, and thou didst humble thyself before God. I will forgive and heal all their land. Thou shalt walk prosperously because of meekness. It was while Daniel was voluntarily casting himself down to be taken possession of by the saving sovereignty in the universe that the angel touched him with heavenly inspiration and said, O Daniel, I am come to give thee skill and understanding. Stand thou upright on thy feet. We gladly offer the sum total of our unlikeness to the Almighty Giver. We gladly offer the initiation fee of our contrary tempers at the courts of the healing God. The third angel's voice wakes the will to let go the last vestige of opposition to the mighty trend. What matter how unlike to our way is the way our life seems to be moving? We take with us words and return, looking steadfastly unto the great mover. Is it not assured that when the Lord returns our returning, our mouth is filled with laughter, and our tongue with singing? How else than by being free inspiration can we warm the world into health? How else than by being God-blowing can we go into all the world, preaching the gospel and raising the dead? How else than by being high association can we contagion free inspiration, the Holy Ghost influence that sweeps down all aftermaths of low visioning? The Hindu sometimes touches the law hymned by the third angel. Bow down to me, and thou shalt come even to me. Take sanctuary with me alone. I shall liberate thee from all sins by the resplendent lamp of wisdom. Milton immortalized his acquaintance with the third star's supernal import. What is dark in me, illumine. What is low, raise and support, that to the height of the great argument I may assert eternal providence and justify the ways of God to man. The all-conquering Jesus passed through the gates of voluntary lowliness and taught us all that identifying worship, when it touches the conquering truth, has come up out of the baptismal font of humility. God is a spirit, and they that worship him must worship him in spirit of humility and in the bold words of truth. Now we are ready to cast ourselves and all our wills and demandings and lowly yielding up to unseen high sovereignty and his own providence. Who is not glad to surrender his proud mind's muddy waddies of foolishness, its dark pools of ignorance? Here is my mind, I spread it out before thee. Forgive thou its foolishness and ignorance with thy bright wisdom. Here is my life impulsion, I offer it to thee. Forgive thou all its contrariness to thee. Here is my heart, it is thine only. Forgive thou its dissatisfactions. Forgive its restlessness. Forgive its discouragements. Forgive its elations. Forgive its hopes and its fears, its loves and its hates. Here is my body, I cast it down before thee. Forgive thou its imperfections with thy perfection. Forgive me altogether with thyself, so only can I be the life and inspiration of the 5 bold words of truth, hymns to the eternal, glowing virgins with oil of healing and oil of illuminating in their everlasting lamps. Thou art, and there is none beside thee, in thine own omnipresence, omnipotence, omniscience. I am thine only, and in thee I live, move, and have being. I am thine own substance, power and light, and I shed abroad wisdom, strength, holiness from thee. Thou art now working through me to will and to do that which ought to be done by me. I am forgiven and governed by thee alone, and I cannot sin, I cannot suffer for sin, nor fear sin, sickness, or death. My soul, doing obeisance unto the wonder of thee, wakes again these hymns of the morning stars in praise of thee. High praise of him, all forgiveness draws hitherward the promised new language, and brings into view the new race to be sent down from heaven, foreseen by enrapt sibyls, keepers of the 5 hymns that should sometime sing in the golden age. End of chapter 3. And in synopsis of chapter 3, forgiveness, I like to think of forgiveness as the giving for. We are giving up our human ways. We're giving up our fears, our hopes, our desires, all of our petty little human trials and tribulations. And in exchange, what we give up, we create a void within ourselves. When we let go of our human tendencies and our small problems and things like that, then in exchange, there's a giving for. And that is when God steps in and gives for our human ways, the divine ways. God steps in, and in place of our problems, we're implanted with divine purpose. We're implanted with new knowing. We're implanted with God consciousness. And instead of having to think about ourselves and our troubles, now God is thinking through us, and God is willing us to do things that are in alignment with the highest good of all. So we're taking a much broader perspective by letting go of our little human lot in life and allowing the divine to step in and to create something through us that's in alignment with the highest good of everyone. And we're giving for our human perspective, God's perspective. It's a beautiful exchange of energy. It's the giving for. Instead of forgiving, I like to think of it as the giving for. We sacrifice our life in exchange for God's life living through us. And it's a very beautiful, beautiful expression.